My prayer is not that you take them out of the world, but you protect them from the evil one. They are not of the world, even as I am not of it. Sanctify them by the truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I have sent them into the world. For them I sanctify myself, that they too may be truly sanctified. My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one. Father, just as you are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. I have given them the glory that you have given me, that they may be one as we are one, I in them and you in me. May they be brought to complete unity, to let the world know that you have sent me and have loved them, even as you have loved me.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Wasn't sure whether you'd been cut, or you'd be still involved, but glad to have you still doing that. Always good to have God's word read to us. Worthwhile keeping that passage open, because I'll be certainly referring to that along the way. This is me. I got a new title, a flourishing church consultant. Last week I was a church health consultant when I spoke to Sean, but now I'm a flourishing church consultant. I've had a job change in the last, actually just a title change. I still do the same thing. So, but the word flourishing is a really important word for us in the BUV, and so we're sort of really orientating ourselves around that word. We've been continuing to do that over the last number of years, but that's sort of been something that's a growing thing. So what I want to do before I really get going into the message, I want to show you a video. Well, I won't show you. Jack's going to show it to you. But yes, there's a video that we've prepared that just to update you with where things are at in terms of our BUV. Thank you, mate.
Victoria has always been a place of new beginnings. In the same entrepreneurial vein, the Baptist movement has always been a movement characterised by mission. For well over a century and a half, the Baptist Union has been woven into the fabric of this state. Decades ago, our Baptist predecessors looked at this landscape and saw an opportunity to share the good news of Jesus, both here in Melbourne and beyond, to fulfil a need for hope, community and connection, a need for Jesus.
This is an exciting time to be a Baptist in Victoria, because the Baptist Union is much more than 250 church buildings or places of worship. We are a movement of people who are called to be the hands and feet of Jesus in our communities, in every corner of Victoria.
I'm here in the first ever Baptist church planted in Victoria, Collins Street Baptist Church, here in the heart of Melbourne. The congregation first met in 1838 in a tent across the road before this building was even built. Ever since those humble beginnings, Victorian Baptists have continued to plant seeds both far and wide throughout this state. Fast forward to the present day, where those seeds planted have been consistently watered and have blossomed into 250 culturally and linguistically diverse churches and missional initiatives all across this state. 250 places to belong. 250 places to discover, learn and share about Jesus and what he has done for us.
But just as our history and ancestors have shown us, as people of faith in an ever-changing world, we must be faithful to our past, grounded in the present, and shaping the future. Because there is much more opportunity to be and share the good news of Jesus across this state of Victoria. The reality is, in the next 25 years alone, Victoria's population will swell from 6.8 million to an estimated 10.3 million. That's an additional 1.5 million households. If we stay as we are, we leave those new households and communities with less opportunity to meet Jesus. Right now, together, we are embarking on an exciting chapter, fueled by a new and bold vision for the next 50 years. A vision reflecting our heritage, but made for our future. So, what is this bold new vision?
It is to be a union of 500 flourishing churches, making disciples and transforming Victoria. So, in 50 years, in 2075, what does our Baptist Union of Victoria look like? It looks like every one of our current 250 churches flourishing and on mission. It looks like an additional 250 planted churches flourishing and on mission. It looks like those 500 churches filled with Christ-like disciples actively sharing the good news with others. And it looks like 500 geographically and culturally diverse churches who are actively making an impact and transforming their local communities.
Your church might already be flourishing. Why not pray about planting a new congregation in your current location or in a new community? Or you might need support to reimagine or revitalize your church to see it flourish. Your church might already be impacting the local community in significant ways. Why not pray about partnering with another church who might need wisdom, knowing where to start?
You might be hearing this and resonating with the need for church planters. Why not pray and explore the call to church planting? Or you might be realising the need to resource and equip our next generation of leaders so that they can continue this exciting 50-year journey.
It takes courage to look beyond the now and embrace the not yet. But together, we can step into that future, a future where every church is a flourishing hub at the heart of its community, where faith is alive, mission is real, and everybody belongs. It's flourishing on mission, 500 churches in 50 years.
This is the invitation of our generation. So, what will your part in this story be?
All right, that's pretty cool. That's our long-term vision. I guess my particular part in that is as we said, is to consult with churches to help them to flourish. We want your church to flourish in whatever that means for you, in your location, and so on. One of the privileges I have is to sort of wander around the state and see the a really significant variety. I think I'm up to somewhere around about 90 different churches I've visited over the last 8.5 years in the role that I have, and we are incredibly diverse. And so that's our great strength. It's also our great challenge. But we want to continue to see churches in all their diversity flourish. So anyway, that's what we're on about here today. This is my family here. I have a real life wife just down here. And you're actually very privileged because she doesn't normally come with me to hear me preach. She's heard me preach plenty of times and so doesn't need to hear me preach again. But it suited us today because we've got some other things to do out this side of town. So she came. Good to have you. You should welcome her, by the way. You should welcome her, okay? Thank you very much. Yeah. We celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary at the end of last year. I know she doesn't look old enough for that, but she was very young when she got married, okay? And we reckon that's worthy of celebrating. And here's our picture of our two kids. Our son behind me, Jesse, he's 22. He works in installing artificial grass. And then our daughter, Mia, is behind Lynn. She's 20, and she is studying to be a math teacher. She loves maths, and she's passionate about that, and so she's want to go into education, into that space. So that's me. Been thinking a whole lot in the last little while around, probably even the last couple of years, about sort of something I wanted to share with God's people as I sort of do get to be wander around. This happened, as Sean said. I know Brent. I've known Brent for 4 or 5 years now, and Brent, we caught up at the most recent assembly, and he said, you don't have any available to preach on July 19, do you? I said, yes, I am. He said, well, would you sub in for me? And so I said, yes, I would. So I'm here. That's sort of the context of why I'm here today. I'm not here because he thinks there's any great problems. I don't know. I think you're going all right. And Sean's description of me was very, very colourful, and I enjoyed listening to it. And only a part of it was true. But anyway, that's okay. You figure out what part you think is true. So I've been wanting to sort of share this message around as I've been invited around to preach and to share into that. And the other alternative was to do Sodom and Gomorrah, and I think you had enough of that in the kids' video. So I thought I'll just do my thing, and you can do Sodom and Gomorrah in this at another time. So I've sort of entitled this idea. Now, is that going to work? Here we go. What Jesus prays for his disciples, and this was something I was musing on for quite a while before it sort of formed into this message. It's taken from a prayer from John 17. Now, I normally like to wander around when I preach, mostly because I'm short and I don't like pulpits. But I figure if I wander, I'm going to be in the way a bit, so I might wander a little bit. I also like to wander in my sermons because I have a goal to do 10,000 steps a day, and if I can get a few of them while I'm preaching. Does anybody else do 10,000 steps a day? A few of us do that? Yeah. So, sorry you have to sit there. If you want to wander at the back, no problem by me. I will understand because actually I don't mind wandering at the back of a sermon as well. So I will wander a little bit, but not too much because I'm in the way of the screen. And if you're sitting right there, sorry. I guess you knew that when you sat there. Anyway, that's okay. You know, the prayer in John 17 is really interesting prayer because Jesus prays for his disciples. And, I don't know how much, if I asked you to sort of quote back from Joe's prayer from 10 minutes ago, how much could you quote back? You might remember he prayed the Nicene Creed, and you might remember one or two other things that he said. But, I don't reckon I could quote back his prayer. And I don't know that too many of you would be able to quote back. But it's fascinating to me that we have this whole prayer, all of John 17, and John remembers the whole prayer. So it was obviously pretty significant in his life. And so there's no sort of, press record on the phone. There's no, dictaphones. You remember dictaphones? I remember dictaphones. Young people, that's an old thing that we used to use for technology, to record things before we had iPhones, etc. And so I had a dictaphone to record things, but John has none of that. He just remembers the whole prayer. It's obviously made such an impact upon him. And Jesus, it would seem to me, is praying that prayer out loud because he wants it to be remembered. Now, this is a really significant prayer that he prays for us. I want to unpack just a little bit of this. We only did verses 15 to 23. There's obviously a number of things before that and a little bit after that as well. So there's a lot more we could look at, but this is sort of big enough selection to do this. In fact, I have done this in a sort of a 2-week message, but I'm sort of combining a couple of elements into this, so I need to not rave on too long. I need to talk fast. Now, the element I love the most about this prayer is in verse 20, where Jesus prays this: "My prayer is not for them alone." Who's them? We've got 11 disciples left. Okay? Judas has disappeared already. That's already happened. And so the them, it would seem, is the 11 disciples. So Jesus says, I'm not just praying for them, but I'm praying also for those who will believe in me through their message. And so, again, Joe's, in his introduction to his prayer, has brought us back to the Nicene Creed of 325 AD. So we're a part of historical church. Already we've been reminded of that. But get this, if Jesus is praying for those who believe in me through their message, okay, so the message of the 11 has then gone forth, and we read about that in the book of Acts. And then it sort of goes on into history. We had a little bit of 325 AD, and it's gone on, it's gone on, and it's gone on, and it's gone on. And somewhere along the line, if you're a believer in Jesus, you've heard the message as well, and you've responded to the message as well. So one of the amazing things, one of the things that I really love to think about this prayer is that Jesus prayed for you and me. Because we're part of the people who believe in him through their message. We're the spiritual great, and goodness knows how many greats you need to put in there. We're part of the descendants, the spiritual descendants. We're part of a historic church. I just find that awesome. I love to say, let that rattle around your brain that Jesus prayed for you. Not just from heaven, interceding for you on the throne now, but he prayed for you while he was here on earth. I want to look at this first part of the prayer from 15 to 18. We've read it all. I won't read it all out again. Prayer that you not take them out of the world, etc., etc. We've read it, so let's move on. The missional context of that, it says that Jesus has said, I haven't taken them out of the world. My prayer is that they would be in the world. So he's sending us into the world. We're not called to be in retreat. You know, the world is a scary place sometimes. You know, globally we're aware of lots of issues around that, and we have an ever-present media that tells us exactly what's going on, and you know, we can find out information about anything around the world. Again, Joe's already prayed for some of the world hotspots in his prayer for us, and then as he also alluded, there's a whole bunch of other things that don't make the press. You know, around there, we have a lot of friends in our Baptist Union Victoria who are from Burma. From Myanmar, and they're mostly here because they couldn't stay in their own country because it wasn't safe for them to be a follower of Jesus in that place. And so the world is a bit of a scary place. But he says that he calls us to be not in retreat, so to get out of our comfort zone. He says, I've sent them into the world and they would not be taken out of the world. So Jesus prays for us to take the big, bold, missiological step out of our comfort zone. He wants us to be out of our comfort zone. So to build relationships, to get into proximity with people. Not just the good people who hang out in church, like this, you know, good people like you, but to get out into different places and build relationships. And so say hi to, make sure you know your neighbours. Say hi to your neighbours. If you get some new people around, say hi to them. Introduce yourself to them. I go to the same coffee shop all the time, and I do that because I'm building relationships with the people in my coffee shop, not just because I like coffee. Learn people's names. Ask people's names. On Friday, I was getting some medication. I can't remember what medication I was getting, but I was getting some medication. And I spoke to a particular lady who's been a great help to me. I have type 2 diabetes, one of the great... Gee, I love getting old. Whew. It is so much fun getting old. Any amens to that? Yeah. Well, I got type 2 diabetes because I'm getting a bit old. And so I've been dealing with what the pharmacist I'm mostly dealing with is a lovely Muslim lady. And so we have, where I live in the western suburbs of Melbourne. And so we have lots of, a very multicultural mix out there. And so, but this particular lady, I asked her name because I wanted to refer to her by name, because I didn't want to just say the lovely Muslim pharmacist who helps me a lot. So I told her the story that I wanted to know her name because I actually talk about her. Because, sometimes in a polarized world where people sort of divide off and things along those lines, we're part of a people where God says that we should be, our future heavenly vision is every tribe and language around the throne worshipping Jesus. It took me a while to figure that out. I thought we were all going to speak English in heaven for about the first 40-something years of my life. And then I encountered Revelation 7, which says every tribe and language. We live in Tarneet, which is one of the most multicultural suburbs in Australia. Of the 10 most multicultural suburbs in Australia, 5 of them are in my municipality. Tarneet, Werribee, Hoppers Crossing, Truganina and Point Cook. So, we get a slice of heaven every time we go to the shopping centre. And so I was talking to her, and I found out her name, because I want to know her name. And I told her the story of why I wanted to know her name. And her name is Shazel. And she is a Muslim lady who's been incredibly compassionate and helpful to me in my diabetes journey. So that's cool. Learn people's names. There's a cleaner at our shopping centre named Omar, and every time I see him, I greet him by name. G'day, Omar. He never greets me by name. I don't think he knows my name. But here I know his, because I'm trying to build relationships. I'm being intentional around that, around getting in proximity and greeting people by name. It's good to know Shazel's name now. But then Jesus also prays of that how we're to live in this. He prays for us that we will live with different values, because he sort of prays that they would not be of the world. They're not of the world. So they have a different set of values. What sort of value is that? Well, that's a whole lifetime of sermons, isn't it? But let's start with the salt and light passage from the Sermon on the Mount. Here's a different set of values. You are the salt of the earth. If salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and be trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in their house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so they might see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. There's an interesting thing about that. Light is an easier one to say. Jesus said in John's Gospel, he said, I am the light of the world. And in Matthew's Gospel, he says, you are the light of the world. How does that work? Is he the light or are we the light? Well, it's got to be both, doesn't it? He's the light, he flows through us, and so we're the light. That's the way it works. And that's kind of, it's exciting, scary, all at the same time. Because it's giving us, it's saying the light of Jesus is supposed to flow through us. And how does that work? Through our different set of values. Because in the end, he says, let your light shine before others so that people can see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. If we can do some good deeds, it may well point to the Father in heaven. Yeah? Good deeds, acts of generosity, going the second mile, helping strangers. You never know what's going on in someone's life. And so that you can, to offer kindness to a stranger, offer a gift to a stranger. Acting with integrity, walking in integrity. Integrity is a great challenge, to try to figure out what it is to be God's people in a secular world. I was preaching this in one of our country churches, and a lady spoke to me afterwards, and she said, my son has just won an integrity award at his workplace. I was impressed in two ways. I was impressed that his workplace had an integrity award. I don't know how many places, probably that's the only workplace I've ever heard that actually has an integrity award. And secondly, I was very impressed that Nathan won it. Interesting challenge, wouldn't it be? If you're at a workplace, would you win the integrity award? What would it mean to win the integrity award at your workplace, current or past? I don't know, I'll have to ask Nathan how he did it. You are the salt of the earth. The best form is to salt influences, gives flavour, gives preservation in the ancient times. To stand for integrity, stand for justice, stand for kindness. They're great values. And one more thing that I reckon is really important is don't hide from failure. Don't hide from failure. We're human, aren't we? I like to say we're not in heaven yet, so we're still dealing with imperfections. We're still dealing with challenges. We're still dealing with issues that we need to process because we're not in heaven yet. And so part of the things of failure is that we fail sometimes. Yeah? Or am I the only one? John, do you fail sometimes? Oh, thank you, mate. It's you and me. I think we're the only ones. Okay. Well, for John and I, we fail from time to time. The rest of you are going all right. But I think I've learnt this. I've had a few seasons in the secular workforce, and one of the things that I discovered was that people don't like to admit when they've done something wrong. But if you actually go and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I mucked up. Sorry," get on the front foot, apologise. I think that that's actually really important. How we deal with failure is actually important. So Jesus prayed for us to be in the world, but not of the world. And he knew that this would be a challenge, to move us from the comfortable places where we're comfortable, to move out from those places, to be in the world, to be in proximity with people. That's what he's praying for, so that the message can go out, so that relationships can be built. Because mostly the gospel gets transferred through relationships. Every now and again you hear these awesome stories where God just intervenes in someone's life and it's dramatic and it's almost like direct from heaven to earth, and like Apostle Paul's sort of Damascus Road experience. They happen from time to time, but not very often. The vast majority of times of how people come to faith is through someone else. Through a friend inviting them, through a friend reaching out to them, through a friend modeling Christian faith, through a friend sharing, etc., etc. Generally, most of the time, God works through people. The second part of the prayer is from verses 20 to 23. And again, so that's it. That's the summary of the first part, that we be in the world, but not of the world. I reckon that's a really important phrase. In the world, but not of the world. And then this is the second part. We've done that prayer. We've talked about that in verse 20. And so that he prays, what does Jesus pray for next? Actually prays for unity. He prays, that all of them may be one. And then this amazing prayer of Jesus is he prays that they may be brought to complete unity. Complete unity. What does complete unity look like? As opposed to just unity, as opposed to just oneness. This is like an aspirational prayer. This is like to say that it's going to be a challenge in this. Now, Jesus models this. Jesus tells us how do we get our head around this unity. First of all, this unity, a famous prayer that Jesus taught his disciples to pray, says, how does it start? Our Father in heaven. You know that prayer, right? Our Father in heaven. Hallowed be your name, etc., etc. Notice the first word is our Father. It's not, you don't pray to my Father in heaven. Or Jesus said, don't pray to your Father in heaven. He said, pray our Father in heaven. So all of a sudden, we are immediately confronted with the idea that this is not just an individual thing. This is a family prayer. This is a family prayer. That it's to pray our Father in heaven. It's like when we pray that prayer, we actually don't pray that prayer with our eyes closed or our eyes going to heaven. It's a bit like we actually pray that prayer with our eyes on each other. To pray our Father in heaven. And even that term, Father, is this was such a radical idea that Jesus was introducing. That's not how the Jews prayed. The Old Testament Jews didn't really have a very strong concept at all of God as Father at all. In fact, I think you can only find it once in the Psalms. But this is what Jesus was saying. This is a new thing. Okay, so there's an intimacy there in our prayer, our Father, but there's also we're brought together into family. As the apostles unpack that in the writings, we see more of that. We're adopted as children of God. Let me read to you a little bit from Galatians 4. But when the time had fully come, God sent his Son, born under the law, to redeem those under the law, that we might receive adoption to sonship. God sent the Spirit of his Son into our hearts, the Spirit that calls out, Abba, Father. There we see it again. So you are no longer a slave, but God's child. And since you are a child, God, you made you an heir. And so when we become saved, we're adopted into the family of God. We have that incredible relationship. We have that access to the Father. That we can always have access to the Father. If you happen to be meeting with me, if I happen to be having a one-on-one meeting with you, and one of my children ring me, I'll say, I'm sorry, I've got to stop, I've got to talk to my children. Because they have access to their Father. They have like 24/7 access to their Father. We have 24/7 access to our Father, eh? And so we're adopted into family. But that also means we become brothers and sisters. Have a look around for a moment. Have a look around. Serious, look around. Some of you aren't looking around. You're only looking at me. You're only looking at one brother here. But, I get to stand up and see a whole variety of the family of God here. I get to see older and younger. I get to see male and female. I get to see a little bit of cultural diversity here. I get to see a little bit of the variety of the family of God. And with the exception of one or two of you, I don't know you at all. But if you belong to Jesus, we're brothers and sisters. Now, that's a cool thing. That's a great thing. That means we belong. That's a really positive thing. But, how many of you know that, being in family is a challenge, yeah? Anybody got any challenges in your family life at all? Again, there's a lot of people who have no challenges in their family life. Hallelujah. I'd be glad to be a part of your family. But family has challenges. Family has challenges. Lovely picture of my family there before. We look like the perfect family, don't we? We ain't the perfect family. We've got challenges. We're part of siblings. Lynn's got her siblings. I've got my siblings. There are challenges. We're working our way through those challenges. So family is good, but family also has challenges into this. But again, listen to what the apostles tell us there. Paul says to the Ephesian church, make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. We don't have to create the unity of the Spirit. God does that. That's already done for us. What our job is to make every effort. It's not even just like make a bit of an effort. Just try a bit. No, he says, make every effort. That would suggest to me, and I'm a church health consultant, I can give you plenty of testimonies of the challenges amongst God's people. It probably keeps me employed, if I'm really honest. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit. That really does suggest there is going to be some challenges. Because we can be so tempted to, when we look at the other person, the other perspective, to dismiss it, to despise it, to reject it, to speak badly of it, etc., etc., etc. One of the things that we need to do is to learn how to have difficult conversations. Particularly in church life. We're not actually that great at it generally. We prefer to sort of sweep things under the carpet. You know what the problem is when you sweep things under the carpet? It gets lumpy. And you start tripping over it. And that's exactly what happens in church life. I'll give you I'm going to give you one little clue to help you in this. And a little phrase that I've learnt along the way, which is to say, help me understand. Help me understand your perspective. I don't understand your perspective. Help me understand your perspective. Not your perspective is wrong. Not, you're a dreadful person. Not you're the worst person in the world. But Lord, would you help me understand what your perspective is? And to have some active listening into that space. We try to practice that in our family life. We try to practice that in our church life. And it's a phrase that I think is a good phrase if you're trying to make every effort. John is even stronger. In his first epistle, he says, whoever claims to love God yet hates a brother or sister is a liar. Tell us how you really feel, John. He claims to love God yet hates a brother or sister. Now, of course, we would say, I don't hate them, I just dislike them. So then we sort of get the loophole, try to find a loophole to get out of it. But as family, we're not given the opportunity to sort of run away from this. John wants to confront us with this. We've received grace and forgiveness. We need to pass that grace and forgiveness on. Unity and diversity happens. Jesus modeled that. You know how Jesus modeled that? In the 12 that he selected. We know about the 12, Peter, James, John, etc. They're the famous ones. But then, do you know that we have Matthew the tax collector and Simon the zealot? If you don't know, I'm sure you know Matthew the tax collector because he wrote the first gospel. Matthew the tax collector, well, what did the tax collectors do? They were collaborators with the Romans, right? They were subcontracted by the Romans to collect taxes on behalf of them and then take money off the top for themselves. Yeah, we know them, right? So they're collaborators with the Romans. Simon the Zealot is not so well known. The Zealots were those who believed in the violent overthrow of Rome by force. That's just about diametrically opposite. Let me put it in places that you might understand. It's a bit like, on one hand, having a Greens voter on one side. Okay? A Greens voter who sees the world through that perspective. And on the other hand, having maybe a Pauline Hanson One Nation supporter on the other side. I don't know how you think you might go with that, trying to facilitate a discussion with a One Nation supporter and a Green supporter. I have them among my siblings, by the way, so it makes Christmas dinner interesting. Actually, we don't talk about politics. But, get this, the mission of Jesus actually brings the unity. They were called together, and that is what brings the unity. And same actually in my family as well. Caring for my aging mother and then my late sister were things that brought our family together, despite the fact of our political differences. And Jesus models this with calling Matthew the tax collector and Simon the zealot. Do you understand that you can have a different perspective and still serve Jesus together? Yeah? Jesus modeled it. We would do well to follow it as well. And then, if we can get that right, it's a witness. Jesus then finishes off that part of the prayer is to say, then the world will know that you have sent me. Then the world that you have known that you have sent me. It strikes me, and we haven't even looked at the whole prayer, but this prayer of Jesus is incredibly challenging. Incredibly challenging. He prays that we might be in the world, not retreating from the world, to get our hands dirty, to be in relationship with people who aren't like us, and yet with a different set of values. To hold those values whilst we're in relationship. It's reasonably easy, it seems to me, to be a Christian person on a Sunday morning. You all look lovely people. None of you have yelled out at me. You've been so polite. Thank you so much. And we can have a nice interaction, generally on Sundays. Every now and again, I don't know, you see a little bit of a sparky thing that happened on a church on a Sunday, but it doesn't happen too often. The challenge is for us to then live as the followers of Jesus Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And that's our challenge in that. That's our missiological challenge. But then also, Jesus' prayer is that as we gather, as we do relationship together, that we would be one into that space. That strikes me as an incredibly challenging thing for us to put into practice. So I might like to pray for you as we bring our time to a close. Is that okay? Thank you for the person who nodded and said I could pray. Thank you.